So today we're going to look at Section 4D, monthly loan payments, and more specifically we're going to look at the types of loans which are called fixed installment loans, and probably the two that you're most familiar with and may already have one or both of these, or sometime in the future you'll likely have one, at least one of these, would be a car loan or a house loan, and house loan more typically referred to as your mortgage. And what we want to explore in this particular section are, ways that we can help ourselves save interest, and also, how is it that, whenever you sign on the dotted line, how did they come to the fact that, okay, this is your monthly payment for this car, or this is your monthly payment for this house. So I want you to see where all these numbers are coming from. Of course, there are lots of apps now online, but it's always good to know where these numbers are coming from so that you can protect yourself and things like that. So, as you know, typically with cars, you finance over a course of 3 to 5 years, and sometimes even longer now. But what this graphic here in the center is trying to show is that over the life of the loan, when you first make your first payment, the majority of your payment goes to interest, and then you have a lesser amount going to principal. And then over time, as the months increase and you get towards the end of your loan cycle, very little of your payment is going to interest and the majority of it is going to principal. That's why they always say that if you can, pay just a little bit more each month, you're eating away at your principal and therefore saving yourself interest for the future. And it should be noted that, for example, this graphic looks pretty good here, but like, for example, if we were talking about a house, for example, a house would start way down here, that the majority of your first payment goes to interest, and it takes a much longer amount of time for your principal to start becoming more than the interest that you're paying. And that's, no one's trying to cheat you there. That's just the way a typical mortgage loan works. I'll let you read your APR and your finance charge. Let's see, I've already spoken about car loans, student loans, personal loans, mortgages. Those are all examples of fixed loan payments. So we want to explore a couple of these just so that you get a feel for using the formula for a monthly payment and that sort of thing. So if you'll flip it over to the next page, at the top of the next page, you'll see your loan formula, and this is, like I said, you would use this if you wanted to figure out, if you want to go out and you want to buy a set of washer and dryer, and you want to, for yourself, for example, figure out, okay, well, what should my monthly payment be if I want to get it paid off in 1 year's time or 2 years' time? You can use this formula given, whatever rate that they're offering. A car loan, your mortgage payment as well could all be utilized here. It should be noted that your P stands for your principal, how much you're going to finance. Your rate is the rate that is for the actual loan itself. I put 12 in here because I'm assuming that you're going to be making monthly payments on this loan. And then T is always your time in years. And then what's always a nice thing to look at then is that at the end of the loan term, how much did you end up paying for this item? And so you take your monthly payment, multiply it times 12, times T for the number of years, and you'll see how much you end up paying. We'll run through one of those in just a moment. And then lastly, if you want to figure out, actually how much interest you'd end up paying on that particular item, take the amount that you financed and subtract actually take the total amount that you would have paid minus how much you financed, and can be, in some cases, a big eye-opener for us. So let's look at example 1 together so you can see how this formula pans out, and we'll go from there. So here in example 1, it says you have student loans totaling $7,500 when you graduate college. Interest rate that you're able to get is 9% on that, and the term of the loan is for 10 years. So we want to figure out, okay, what's your monthly payment then going to be now that you've got to start paying back? What's our monthly payment going to be? So I'm going to use my payment formula. So my payment is equal to my principal, how much I financed. So in this case, $7,500, which I owe back. And then on the top there, we have our rate, which will be 0.09, because I got to put it as a decimal, divided by 12. Again, putting the 12 there just assumes that you're making a payment every month. Then on the bottom we start a parenthesis, 1 minus, start another parenthesis, 1 plus, your rate 0.09 divided by 12, close it. You'll be raising it in parentheses to the negative 12 times T is the number of years, in this case 10 years. Close it, close it. And like I've been saying before, if you'll utilize all the parentheses that I have here, most calculators can handle this from top to bottom, left to right, just plugging it in. So definitely take the time, pause the video, make sure you can plug this in and that you get this value, $95.01. So that would be how much you'd have to pay back per month over the next 10 years to settle up on your $7,500 student loan debt. So then part B wants to know, okay, well, if you end up paying $95.01 every month, how much then did you end up paying over the whole life of the loan? So if you think about it, I'm going to show a lot of work up here. I mean, I gave you a formula where you could just take your payment times 12 times T. I'm just going to show you why that formula works, as I've done before. Okay, so we know that we're paying $95.01 per month. That's 1 cent up there. Multiply that, we're going to do that for 12 months every year. And then we're going to do that over the course of 10 years. And if you look at it, what will end up happening is our months will cancel out, our years will cancel out, and so the only unit I have left with is money, which is what I wanted. And I'll do that 9501 times 12 times 10, and that's going to give you a little over $11,401.20. So that's what I mean by, okay, so you only owed $7,500 in student loan debt, but because you had to pay interest on this debt, you ended up paying over $11,000 on that student loan. So then in part C, well, how much interest did you pay? You can sort of eyeball that amount, but let's get it exactly. Total interest then that we paid, we'll take that $11,401, how much we total ended up paying, subtract out how much we had borrowed initially, a little over, almost $4,000, but 3901.20. That's how much you paid in interest. So as I said before, if you can ever afford to send them an extra 10, 15, 20, $100 a month, send it, because that will whittle away at how much interest you end up paying them over the whole life of the loan. It makes a huge difference, especially in a home. They'll tell you for homes that if you can make one extra payment per year, that you can end up knocking 8 to 10 years off the life of the loan, and that's huge whenever you're talking about a 30-year mortgage. So just always things to consider. And you wouldn't make, you know, as far as a car payment, you wouldn't be able to knock off that much if you only made one extra car payment, but you would be able to make some. Okay, so we will scoot on over to the next page. And example 2 and example 3 are just two more examples, basically to help you run through that formula again. In example 2, you're buying a new washer and dryer, and we just want to figure out, okay, what would be your monthly payment on that? Can you fit it into your budget? In example 3, you've taken out a personal loan and you borrowed $10,000. You're trying to make yourself, okay, I want to pay this back over 5 years, and this is the APR that they're charging me. Okay, what's going to be my monthly payment now on paying it back? So I'll let you work through example 2 and example 3. I want to focus down here at the bottom on calculating the monthly payment for a car loan, because that's something, like I said, that most everyone at some point in their lives will probably end up purchasing a car and financing it. And so we want to make sure that you're armed, you know, and know all the, know all the right questions to ask, and know even before you go to the lot, okay, well, this is how much I should expect to pay, things like that. So most states, North Carolina included, actually allow you to have a tax credit for any trade-ins that you might have. So if you go to the dealership and you know that you're going to trade in your current car on the purchase of a new car, this is actually something that's in the consumer's favor. They will subtract out the trade-in value first, and then they calculate tax. So as I said, this is in our favor, and we'll compute this in just a moment. After that trade-in amount has been taken out, you do compute your tax. We'll take out any down payments that you plan to make and add in the tax to get our overall purchase price of the car, and then we're going to use our loan formula, our loan payment formula that we just used a few minutes ago. It should be noted that there are 7 states, though, that do not apply this tax credit for trade-ins, and they are California, Hawaii, Kentucky, Maryland, Michigan, Montana, and Virginia. So if, for example, you were to purchase a car in one of those states, they would say, okay, you have to pay us tax on the car first, and then we'll take out your trade-in. It just gives them a little bit more revenue in tax. So, I mean, obviously, there's just like I said, there's just a few states that are like that. So I just wanted you to have a heads up about that. So let's flip it over and let's work one of these problems from top to bottom so you can see what this will look like. So I did try to go online and get some, relevant numbers. A Honda Accord retails at $22,000. I would say these are probably most likely base model without, obviously that $22,000 just always depends on how it's equipped. Of course you can always soup it up or soup it down. So let's say mid-range here, $22,000. Sales tax in North Carolina is 7%. For having good credit, you can typically find a 5-year loan at 3%. Even better credit, you can get a better percentage loan a lot of times. It always depends on your credit. We say here that we want to make a $2,000 down payment. You've got a trade-in worth $1,500, and we want to figure out, well, what's your monthly payment for this car going to be? So the first thing we want to calculate is taking out that trade-in. So we will take our $22,000, subtract out your trade-in, so they're going to give you $1,500 for it, and that's going to give you $20,500. After you do that, you want to compute your tax. So tax is computed by taking that $20,500 and multiplying it times 0.07. That'll give you $1,435, so $1,435 in tax. So then our principal is how much are we going to finance? So then we're going to end up financing the $20,500. We'll have to add in our tax, subtract out our down payment of $2,000. I'm getting $19,935. That's how much we're going to choose to finance. So then we're going to go to our payment formula. So our payment is equal to how much we're financing, which is the $19,935. Sorry, bear with me there. Get back here. 19,935 times our rate, which was 0.03, divided by 12, close it. On the bottom, parenthesis 1 minus, parenthesis 1 plus, 0.03 divided by 12, close it. Raise it in parentheses to the negative 12 time. You're doing this for 5 years, so negative 12 times 5, and close it again. Give me just a moment to put that in the calculator. I got $358.21. $358.21. So that would be what you would expect to pay then for monthly for this car over the course of the 5 years. The only thing that I would consider that this number doesn't include is, I'm sure you've heard, the tax, title, and doc fees. Those are usually not too terribly much, you know, a couple $100 that ends up being added on here, you know, like the registration fees and things like that. That's about the only thing that this is missing that we would add into this principle here. It should be noted, though, that the dealership is going to offer you things that can greatly affect this number, your monthly payment amount. They're of course going to offer you an extended warranty, and so you just have to know, you have to think for yourself going in to, you know, before you start signing papers and things like this, am I interested in this extended warranty or not? Another thing that they're going to offer you is gap insurance. And gap insurance is, you know, the moment you drive off the lot, this car is no longer worth, you know, I'm gonna use some nice numbers. Let's say, for example, I'm just gonna say 22,000. This car is no longer worth $22,000. Okay, and let's say 3 days later you end up getting in a car accident and the car gets totaled. Some insurance companies may not would not pay off your loan in the full $22,000 that you owe on this car. Suppose they only gave you $20,000. What gap insurance will do is pick up the gap in how much you owe on the car versus how much the insurance company will pay out. So in this case, they pay out the extra $2,000. So it's all, you know, insurance is always a gamble, you know, as far as whether you should take it out. But you know, I want to let you know that these are things that when you go to a dealership that they're going to offer you, so just so that you have, you know, like, so you're armed and know these kind of things. So those are that are ones that are popping into my mind at the moment. In example 4, I have you look at an Explorer, which was moderately equipped, and it was priced at $35,000. And I had you look at 2 different types of financing, because a lot of times if you choose to finance it for a smaller amount of time, they will give you a better interest rate as opposed to a longer period of time with a higher interest rate. And then, of course, that's always based on your credit. Example 4 will run through the 2 pieces there, and you can see that, you know, versus financing it for 4 years versus 6 years, how much interest are you going to save yourself, you know, things like that. So I'll have you look through that. And we'll scoot on over to the last page. And in the last page, you're just comparing loan terms in terms of, you know, the number of years that you take it out and their APR and how much total interest. I just want you to be able to process all that information. And then lastly, in the last example, it's just another, just giving you more practice with working through that loan payment formula and making sure that you're comfortable with it. I hope this helps, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.